Hi, everyone. It's Professor Brown with a quick note on writing longer pieces of writing. We're talking about essays. We're talking about multiple paragraphs, but not quite an essay. So if you have to give an answer to a question on a quiz or a test, or the teacher asks you to write something with 3 or 4 paragraphs, it's not really an essay, but it is a longer piece of work, right? So we have maybe a couple paragraphs length. We have an essay length, which is usually 5 paragraphs or 6 or 7. And then we have papers, which are longer with, as we talked about in class today, lots more information. And the length is because you're going into more detail, right? So as you go into the upper level grades, you go into high school, you go into college, and you go into your jobs, you're going to be writing longer pieces in all of these different areas. That's why we're taking time to go through all the steps of writing. And we've learned that writing has many, many steps, including pre-writing and drafting. So I want to add something to what we've been talking about. Pre-writing, we know, is where we're getting ready to write. We're coming up with our ideas. We are taking our ideas and clumping them together and coming up with names for ideas of, oh, this is all about, and then we name it, right? We are ordering our ideas. We are putting our ideas into an official order called an outline so that we can have an easy time of writing. All of that is pre-writing, right? Now, drafting we got to do in the last assignment, where we are actually sitting down and taking our outline and writing, drafting it out. And one of the questions that we had in class, in the live class, was, are we going to get graded on polishing, whether this is polished up or not? And no, that's not what a draft is. A draft is just your ideas. It's getting your ideas out there. It's getting things out in the order that we want them to be in, with the pieces and parts that we want to be there. We want a hook. We want to have a thesis statement in the introduction. We want to have a pretty good shape with our paragraphs, where we got a point, and some examples and some evidence, and maybe a sentence analysis of why we put that in there. And then our so what's the importance of this? What does this all mean? We want to still, when we draft, have that order of content in our paragraphs. And we still want to make a conclusion paragraph, our first ideas of, what does this mean? What does it mean for me, for the community, for the world? What did we come up with from writing this longer piece? What were the truths that we came up with? What were the final answers that we came up with? What were the aha moments we came up with in this paper? That goes in the conclusion, right? So that's the pieces and the parts of a draft. We're drafting it out. We're getting it out. Is it perfect? No. Are the sentences perfect? No. Are they maybe not even in the right order? Yeah. Maybe are they incomplete? Most likely. Are we using words that we won't use in the end? Of course we are. Are we using pronouns? Probably, which we're going to be taking out later. Maybe we're using pointing words. Maybe we're putting extra things in that we don't need. Maybe we don't have enough in. We're not going to worry about that when we're drafting. Okay, so now you understand more about the draft. What the draft is, it's just getting it out into the order and the form and the shape that we need, but it's not polished at all. The next thing we're adding now is that in the next weeks, we're going to be talking about polishing it up. And that means we're going to revise or move pieces around, and we're going to edit. We're going to take little words out, put little words in. We're going to polish, like you've got some brass or metal with a cloth and you rub it until it's shiny. We're going to change it and move words out and make some things happen differently in our writing that polish up the writing and make it really good. So this drafting, it's finishing the drafting. The drafting is getting it out, but then to polish it up and to revise it and to remake it into the end that we want it to be. That's the third part. So we can think of our writing longer pieces in these parts of pre-writing, getting our ideas together and organized and ready to write, our drafting, getting out the bulk of it, and then our polishing it up, our revising, our editing, our proofreading, which means, is that comma supposed to go there? Or did I forget to put a capitalization on that word? The tiny, tiny things. We're going to be going through this entire process of writing something that's longer. Okay. That's what writing really is in middle school, in high school, in college, and in your work later on. It's all these different steps and pieces and parts. And is it hard? No, we just learn how to do it and we go through the steps. It's not sitting down just in writing, though. We don't do that anymore because that doesn't get a really great result. And we're actually writing things that are longer. We can't just sit down and write it and it's done and good. Nobody does that, by the way. Even professional writers, we go through all the steps that we're talking about. And writing in that way is kind of like a game. It's kind of like a fun path to walk. And each time you work on it, it gets better. You get more excited about it, and you end up with something that you really, really like. So as we're finishing out this class, in the last half of this class, we're going to be looking at this whole process of pre-writing, drafting, and polishing and fixing and making it good. Taking that draft, that's the rough hewn, not clear, lots of things to fix. That's what a draft is. Don't worry about it. And we're going to fix it up into something that is polished.